It's like Mars 44, and I'm back with another Cardfight Vanguard. Tips and tricks. So, for today's tip and trick, I thought let's move to the basics for a second, because it's the first few, just like the other one, the deck insight. And we're going to do how to play Vanguard. So this might be split up into a few parts because there's a lot of stuff you have to cover on how to play it. One thing with Vanguard though is, I find this is what I did, and I've noticed my friends doing it too. They keep asking questions about different things, and they just have to focus on what I like. They have to focus on certain things at one time. Like you just can't focus on too much. You have to learn some of it, and then learn more of it, and then learn more of it, and then you'll understand it. Also, you can't think of it overcomplicated, because that's what I did as well, and it's not complicated. Just look at it simply, think about it, and you know it'll make sense. So for today, I have my Scarlet playmat, but I have this the starter playmat because I thought it'd just make things easier and make things more simpler. So we have when you buy a trial deck as well, because it's the easiest thing to do when you want to start off with Vanguard. So for all the new people out there who want to start with Vanguard, you know, start playing it and stuff, you get a trial deck, you get this playmat, so it helps you out a bit, and there's a little thing on the side that says turn order, and it tells you some stuff, and it just helps you out a bit as well, and it helps you learn the game a bit better. And then there's the starter guide and the playbook. So the starter guide helps you out a bit, and the playbook just helps you with things you don't understand after reading the starter guide and playing the game. So yeah, there's that. Now then, shall we begin? Yes, we shall. So first things first, to win the game, this is the damage zone. That's where your deck goes, so I will put my deck right there. You have one starting Vanguard in the deck. It's a grade 0, but it's not going to be a grade 0 with this little. If you look at the top right, this is a grade 0. By the way, this is the Dimensional Robo trial deck. But if you look at the top right, it says it has this little square box. If it has that, it's not your starter, unless it's a card that can be put back in the deck later, like Lozenge Magus and Battle Razor. I think those are the only two in the starter deck, so don't concern yourself about anything else. But I'm going to put a few grades in my hands just to make it easy. Let's see, I'm just going to grab some grades. So, no, I don't want you. Probably should have set this up earlier, but it's no biggie. So, your deck, that's the drop zone, that's the damage zone. We'll get to that soon. So, you need 6 damage to win, so there needs to be 6 of your cards in here to win. I'll explain a little more about that in a minute, once I get on with the rest of it. So, my starter is Dimensional Robo Go Yusha. Your starter is not really, it's important of course, but I mean, right now, just don't look at it as what's the starter. Look at it as your starting Vanguard has to be a grade 0. So how it works is the Vanguard means the one who leads the way. So there's only one Vanguard at all times. So that's the middle of the circle. The one that has a V. These are R's, and that's a G. So that's a Guardian circle, and these are rear guard circles. So your Vanguard is the one who leads the way. He's the most important card in your deck. He's the only card that if your opponent hits, you take damage. If they hit someone else, you don't take damage. They just die. They go into here, the drop zone, which is like a graveyard. So your Vanguard is kind of, it's kind of, if you think about Yu-Gi-Oh, it's kind of like your life points in a way, but it's not. It's like he contains the life points and he loses them, if that makes any sense. I don't know. All right. So, anyways, so your power as your Vanguard is you can have units to attack and defend for you. So, yeah. So you can like that's what the Guardian Circle's for. So if you look at this card, in the top and the side here, it has a number. It says 5,000. So how this works is when you put it, say your opponent attacks you and they have 5,000 power, just like this. Say it's another Goyusha. So they have 5,000 power, they attack you, and you're like, oh no, they're attacking me. Well, I want to guard it. So you drop this, it adds a 5,000 shield, and now you're 10,000. So they need a trigger to hit you, which is what we'll go into later. I'll explain about triggers later. But how that works is you get hit if the power is if your power is even or less than what they're attacking for. So if you're 5 and they're 5, they hit you. And if they're higher than 5, they still hit you. They have to be lower than your power to not hit you. So by dropping this, they don't get any triggers, you're safe. But once you guard with it, it's sent to the graveyard, to the drop zone. So there are actually some different decks that could benefit off of this. They benefit off of different things. There's all kinds of different decks. So there's crazy different amount of play styles. It's awesome. Another thing is, if you're new, watching the actual Vanguard anime helps a ton. I was still kind of lost until I continued watching the anime, and it gets really, really good. The end of season 2 and later on after that just is awesome. So, anyways, let's continue on. So, when you're using the Vanguard, you have the power to ride, which is upgrading. So it's like in Pokemon, where you evolve. So Pikachu, evolve into Raichu, right? So it's like that. It's like evolving your Vanguard, making it stronger. So they have stronger power, because this has 7,000 power, and they can do more things. So, also, just for a second, one quick thing that I forgot to mention was before you start the game, you know, like any normal trading card game, most of them, you draw 5 cards, but this one has a special little thing to that. Once you draw your 5 cards, what you want to have in your hand is at least one grade 1, one grade 2, and one grade 3 to ensure you can get your Vanguard to the highest grade possible. That'll make more sense in just a little bit when we talk about it a little more. What I'm trying to say is you want a grade 1, 2, and 3 in your hand. So what you can do when you start, both you and your opponent can take as many cards in your hand. It doesn't matter how many. It could be a minimum of 0 to a maximum of 5, depending on how good or bad your hand is. And you could put them back in the deck, shuffle it again, and try for a better hand. So say you had like 3 grade 2s, a grade 0, and a grade 1. You could put 2 of the grade 2s back to see if you can get a grade 3. Now don't look at that overcomplicated, but I just thought I'd mention that because it's pretty important. At the beginning of your turn, you know, you stand and draw. I'll explain what standing is later, but you draw, right? So I'm gonna ride this guy. So evolve. So he's level 1. He's grade 1. Now you can only ride a grade 1 or exactly the same, like 1 grade higher or exactly the same. So I could ride a 0 on him, even though he's 0. Not really what you want to do, but you could. Or I can ride a grade 1. You want to get to the highest grade, because how it works is, now that I have a grade 1, what you could do is, since your Vanguard's leading the way, it has the ability to call units, which is, you know, it calls for backup, I guess you could say. I guess, yeah, backup. So I'm going to call for backup. I call this other grade 1. So the thing is, with your Vanguard, you want him to evolve to the highest level, which is 3. There is one that's a 4, but that's different. That's special. Don't think about that. Don't know why I mentioned that, actually. But yeah, so basically you can call it, so, you know, I request help. So here he comes, another grade 1. Now, you can only request help from the grade the same as your Vanguard, the grades that are the same as your Vanguard, or lower. So I can't request help for this guy because he's grade 2, and I don't have a grade 2 Vanguard. So I can't do that. I'm unable to do that. Another thing alongside with not being able to, you know, request help from grade 2s, you can't use them to guard, which is really important as well, which is why hitting, you know, the highest grade, the highest level, is really, really important. So, with that, when you attack, the first person that makes a move can't attack. But then when it's the other person's turn, they can attack. So, say your opponent went first, they can't attack. But it's my turn, I can attack. Because even though it hasn't gone back to them, they were the one who went first. So I can attack. When you attack, what you want to do is, by the way, sorry, I forgot about this. When you ride, you just put the card on top. The card under doesn't go anywhere. It just stays under the Vanguard. So all the cards under the Vanguard just stay there. There are some decks that actually use that, but that's different, and that's something else that you can get into later when it gets more complicated. It doesn't really get too complicated, but it's a game about strategy, you know? So it does get a little complicated. But anywho, so when you attack, what you do is you turn your Vanguard, which signals the attack. Now, say I put him back here, and I didn't put him up front. So, when I attack with my Vanguard, you can, since he's grade 1 or lower, only grade 1s or lower can do this, you could turn him as well, and it gives the unit in front his power. So, 7 plus 7 is 14. So he can attack for 14 now. And that's very important to know. It's very important to know about the boosting. And then when your Vanguard attacks, what you want to do, this is only for the Vanguard, remember this as well. So what you do with your Vanguard is you check the top card. Now if you remember earlier, let me just see if I can, okay, let me put that back. So this will be my top card. I checked the top card. Now, if you remember from earlier, there was that card I showed you that had a symbol in the top right, yes? So there's a symbol right here. Now what that symbol does is whenever you pull a card like this, and that is why you do these checks as well, the card gets added to your hand at the end. But when you pull it, what its thing is it lets you add 5,000 power to anything on your field. And then, depending on what color it is and what it says, this one says critical. So this one gives your opponent it gives someone an extra damage. So if you look on the card here, where is it? It says critical, and it only has 1. So what that is that means he can only hit for 1 damage. That's all he can deal. But when you pull this, you put another critical on something. So if I put it on a Vanguard, my opponent takes 2 damage. So it helps pushing. Criticals are amazing. And there's other kind of triggers. I'm going to show you them right now, actually. I think there was one here. This one is called a heal trigger. You see it's green. It says heal. So basically what you do is you take a card from your damage and put it in your graveyard, your drop zone, if your opponent, if you have more damage or equal to your opponent's. If you have less damage, you can't really do it. And then there's this one. Wait, let me find them all. Okay, that one. Alright, so there's this trigger, which is a draw trigger. So, as it says, something gets 5,000 and you get to draw a card. So, that's 2 cards to your hand with one of the checks, which is really, really handy. And then this one is called a stand trigger. Now, when my Vanguard attacked, I turned him to signal the attack. What that's called is it's called rest. So what a stand trigger does is it turns that rested unit unrested again, which is stand. That's why when you start your turn, you stand and then you draw a card. So it stands the unit and then it can attack again. Of course, this is in the back row, so it can't attack again. But if it was over here and I already attacked with it, I could just swing in again. But yeah, that's just a little more complicated, you know? Not too complicated, but that's how the triggers work. One thing also that you need to know is that the only card that could not restand is your Vanguard. So that's important to know because you don't want to make that mistake. Okay, so another thing is, let me stand up, draw, I'll ride this guy. So, grade 2, I can now put some more grade 2s here, fill in my field a bit, give it some extra power, right? So, one of the things is, when you look at the grade 2, if you take a look at the grade 1, right? How he could only boost. I think there's somewhere here that he says, no, okay, never mind, scratch that. They all have certain abilities, like if you look at this guy, he has no ability. There's a card text that they put, you know, for fun, and then there's his name. In between there should be a white box with a skill. It's an ability, it's an effect that they have. Like him, he has this one. He has this effect right here in this white box. That's what it is. There's different kinds as well. This one says ACT. That means you can activate it. So it's during your main phase, you can activate it. This one says auto, which means it can only do it in the specific requirements. And then there's another one that says cont, which is continuous, which means it's just continuous. That's basically it. I can't explain that any further. So now let's move on. Let's go to grade 3, because that will make it a little simpler. So once you're at your grade 3, you have the power to put anything you want on the field. Wow, this video is going pretty long though. I'll try to shorten it if I can. Like, not shorten it, but whatever. You know what? Let's just continue. I'll worry about it in editing. But so when I ride grade 3, now you could tell the grade 3s don't have a shield here on the side. They're the one thing that doesn't have a shield that you can't guard with. So you can't protect your Vanguard or any rear guards with that because it has no shield. You could drop it. You could do it if you want. You can guard with it. It has no shield. It'll make no effect. Nothing will happen. It'll just continue on as if you didn't drop it. So what he has is the grade 2s have something called an intercept, which is when they're in the front row on these rear guards, instead of guarding from your hand, you can move it, intercept, like when somebody's taking, say there's a movie and somebody's getting shot and a guy jumps in front to intercept the shot and take the hit. That's what it's like. That's what intercepting is like. So grade 2s have that skill to intercept. They take the hit for the Vanguard or any other rear guard that you want, and they die. But that's what makes them very special. They have that skill to intercept. The grade 1s have the skill to boost, to give power to the front row. Same with the grade 0s, but they also have, the grade 0s have the triggers other than your starter. And the grade 3 has a special skill. Now, if you remember, when I attacked with this guy, when I rode him, I got to check 1 card. What he does is when a grade 3 attacks, when you attack with a grade 3 or higher, you get 2 checks. So you get 1 and then 2, and then they go to your hand. So you don't lose cards, you gain cards, of course. It's really important because it gives you 2 cards, and hand advantage is huge in this game, but also pressure is huge too. So you got to maintain that, and it depends on what deck you're playing. That's more complicated, but it gets you 2 checks, which is really, really big. I just had 2 cards in my hand, and it looked like, oh man, I'm in trouble. I have 2 intercept, but I'm kind of in trouble. Now I just got another 2. So that could save you. It's just, grade 3s are really, really good, really important. Okay, so another thing I didn't show you was, say my Vanguard, alright, my turn's over, I attacked, blah, blah, blah. Say my Vanguard takes damage, so he gets hit. That means I show the top card of my deck. If I have a trigger, it activates. So this is the trigger zone, obviously. So I didn't show you it, but this is the trigger zone up here. But if I had a trigger, I could give 5,000 power and the other effect to something. It wouldn't really do anything when you're defending. It doesn't do much. Draw triggers are the best to get when you're defending. But after that, the card doesn't go in your hand. It goes to your damage zone. Once you have 6 of them in here, you lose. Unless, let's stack up my damage zone. Okay, so I have 5, right? Now say my opponent hits me, I can't guard it. Trigger check, I pull a heal. What happens is, you heal 1, and then it goes there. So, you don't lose, because you still have 5 damage. You can give 5,000 power to your Vanguard too, to make sure you don't get hit again. But, basically how that works is too, when you check it, and say your opponent was at, say these are just in the drop zone randomly. Say your opponent was at, I'm being too picky. Say your opponent was at 4 damage. So I have 3 now in my damage zone. And they hit you. You drive check that. You damage check it. So the check is first, which means you can't heal. You give 5,000 to something, and then it goes there. So that's what it is. It's the checking that saves you. It's like when you have 5 damage, you don't take the 6 damage and then heal. You heal, then you take damage, and then it goes there. So that's kind of how the triggers work. The draw trigger, when it goes here, you get the draw. So if you say your opponent has a critical, they hit you. Your first check is a draw, so you draw first, and then you take the second one. So that's how that works. I'll just put all that back on top. Okay, so when your Vanguard gets hit, like I said, I was showing you the damage. When your Vanguard gets hit, it's like the thing that attacked it overwhelmed it, and that's you taking damage. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. So I think there's like 1 or 2 things I have to cover. Yes, there's 1 or 2 more things I have to cover, maybe 3. You can guard rear guards, I said that already. If the rear guard gets attacked and you don't want to guard it, that means they get destroyed and sent to the graveyard. You don't take any damage. That's an important thing because a lot of people have made that mistake. You don't take any damage, it dies. It's dead. So you don't take damage, which is good. And then there's also the fact that there's some guys like him. Now he has something called, it shows a card flipping, if you could see it, a card flipping and then 1. So what that is it shows the card flipping 1, and it says when it's placed, when you put it on here, on a rear guard circle, that's what they're called, rear guard circles. When you put it there, you can pay the cost. So let's give myself some damage. I have 3 damage. So when you pay the cost, what you do to pay the cost, it's like I don't know how to explain it, but so the cost is basically, what that means is you just flip a card in your damage zone face down. That's the cost you have to pay. There's cards that unflip it, but once you flip it face down, you can't use it again like that. Unless it gets unflipped by something. Or you heal it, because you can heal the face down ones. But what you want to do is you flip it and you can give her 4,000 power. Or this 4,000, or this 4,000. You can give someone 4,000. That's what he does. So counterblasts, that's what they're called. They're called counterblasts. You just flip them face down and they activate. But that's if you want to pay it. If you don't want to pay it, you don't have to do it. So I put it, I flip 4,000 here. That's it. It's simple. Another thing is there's one that shows. I don't think. Yeah, this one has it. It says. No, it doesn't have the symbol. Oh boy, it doesn't have the symbol. Okay, so I guess maybe there is no symbol for it. I didn't realize that. Okay. Alright, so this one says soul. So what the soul is it's the card, it's the stuff under the Vanguard. So I have one in here. So what he does is you take him out of soul, put him in the drop, the graveyard, and then this guy gets 3,000. That's all it is. So that's all, that's what you can do for the soul. Sometimes there's cards that say, you know, call, you get to put 2 in there. It's different, but what I'm trying to explain is there's cards that deal with that, the thing under the Vanguard, and it's called the soul, and that's what it looks like on the card. That's what it explains. So I think that about does it. I'm sorry if this one's a little long. I do apologize, but yeah, we covered everything that I wanted to cover. I have like a piece of paper here. I probably cut it a couple of times. Oops. But not the paper, the video. But we covered everything we wanted to cover. Hopefully you guys understand. If you don't understand anything, just comment down below and I will explain it to you. I will try my best to explain. If not, go watch the anime or look at your starter's guide or playbook and they may be able to help you out. The anime helps out a ton though. It teaches you so much. And yeah, that's really about it. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. This tips and tricks. So one thing about it though is that well, I guess, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, let me know what you guys want me to do next for the next tips and tricks. I was thinking of doing this one as the first one, but the reason I didn't was because making the deck is more important, because you can't really play and learn until you make the deck. So you need the deck first. I guess it's hard to do it the other way around too, but if you just buy a trial deck, then you have a deck. So yeah. Anyways, so let me know what tips and tricks you guys want next. Remember to like and comment and go ahead and subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. The link to my Twitter, Facebook, and Skype will all be down in the description below. You can go ahead and check those out, and I'll see you guys next time. And by the way, Go Yusha. Go Yusha. No wait, this isn't Go Yusha. This is Raid. Super Detonator Robo. Die. Yusha. I missed. Alright, I'll see you guys later.